Hey, Earl, we're at that stage right now where we're basically it's the trading deadline. Put it that way. We're at that point. It's a trading deadline. Yeah, the Mets have beaten the Angels, but let's be honest, it's the Angels. Question is like now we kind of know a lot of the needs the Mets, what the Mets need basically at this point, and quite honestly, it's a case where like it's not going to always work out what they need to. I mean, do we want to take a chance of trading for for the short term and maybe a little bit of the long term a little bit, and plus potentially I don't want to say not losing, but making the same mistake with how we lost out on basically PCA Pete Core Armstrong. Now let's be honest, Armstrong. I don't think anyone foresaw him to be this good. Defensively, that was what he was more so than anything else. Offensively speaking, it was a surprise. He might be another Mike Trout, but he could also be another Mike Trout, meaning, yeah, he'll be good for the first couple of years, but then if he gets injury prone, that's a whole different story at that point. But I think the thing is like there's been a lot of needs that we need basically, and one of the big factors is basically we need help in the bullpen. As I mentioned in the past, we need help in the bullpen considerably, and Pittsburgh, being that they're most likely sellers as well as the Orioles, it probably makes sense. I'm like this name keeps being shopped around a lot. David Bednar. Bednar is basically one of the best relievers in the market, and like the Pirates are sellers. I think it's a case where he has a sub 2.5 ERA level, right? So like I mean we need help in the bullpen, unfortunately. Realistically speaking, what it takes for the Mets to get him, basically, it's going to be a little tricky at that point. Quite honestly, you might have to trade at least maybe Mauricio or Batty, one of those two, and maybe a prospect. But it's possible we could probably get I think it's possible that we could get trade off Batty, honestly, because why I think Batty, looking at his numbers, I think he's getting up there, but it's more so to the point where like I think they're going to want someone else in the return as a result. I don't think we should give him Mauricio because we're seeing Mauricio doing really well. I think Batty is becoming fluky. So that's the thing. It's like Batty becomes fluky. I don't know if we have the patience for it. Vientos, if he does really well, I think it will work out. But between Batty and Vientos, I don't know how it works out in that situation. If I had a choice, I'll probably give up Batty. I think Vientos will produce at that point. Um, the other aspect is like you might have to give up a right-handed pitcher. Now, do we give up Sprout? I don't think so. We're not going to give up Sprout. I have a little bit of faith in him. Tidwell, he's a high upside pitching prospect. That's a possibility that we can give up Tidwell. If we could give up Tidwell to get Bednar, that might work out, quite honestly. Now, the other aspect is like maybe it could be a Tidwell and Mark Vientos. That could work at that point because getting Bednar might help out, but at the same time, using Tidwell and maybe Vientos for Mitch Keller, that's a whole different story as well too. Because this guy has, I mean, I don't know, like he has what a 3.48 ERA. Um, pretty much he gives you again the mid rotation stability that we need, and then maybe for Bednar, maybe just give a Batty. I think we just give a Batty and maybe Christian Scott. That could work out in that aspect. I could be wrong, but honestly, if we could just give a Batty and Scott for Bednar and then maybe Tidwell and Vientos, or maybe Acuna, maybe Bidwell and maybe Tidwell and Acuna for Keller, that could work out because like Acuna, I think he's not his brother. I mean, I'd love to see him be like just like his brother, but he's not his brother. I mean, there's the other alternative as well too, is we could get Emmanuel Clace from the Guardians, but that's going to be a little tricky because uh, he's a close right now, and like he's just one man, one inning setup man, and I don't think we need to give any prospects. We got Diaz at this point, so if we could get Bednar, I think we're okay at that point. The other aspect is I hate to say this, but like quite honestly, we might need a third baseman, and the person well, there's third base if we give up Vientos, but if we definitely need a center fielder. Unfortunately, PCA would have filled that role, but in reality, no one knew. Mauricio is not a center fielder. Batty's not a center fielder. O'Neill's not a center fielder. Quite honestly, I think that it makes the case. And let's be honest, the rest, they're not going to work. I mean, defensively speaking, he works out, but reality is he doesn't. So I think more so the point was the Orioles being sellers, the Mets probably should trade for Cedric Mullins. And there's rumors about that, he might be a lot of speculation, not speculation, but a lot of the scouts and whatnot and GMs out there probably saying like Mullins makes sense for the Mets. Probably the best part is like you probably have to give up maybe maybe a Vassal, but I don't want to give up Vassal, but maybe Drew Gilbert. I don't think Gilbert has that potential per se. I mean, he could be a mid-level tier player, but I don't know. I would love to be wrong about that. The other aspect is like if we don't get in this situation, Bednar by giving up Batty, then maybe we use Batty to get to use him to get Mullins because like the Orioles want a bat and they want someone on the or Acuna, maybe Acuna or Batty, one of those two to get Mullins because like it's great that we have a bunch of infielders now, but maybe even what's his name? I forgot his name now. I just said it a couple. McNeil. McNeil could work on that situation too, but I don't know about that part from that perspective. And then the other aspect is like, we could get Colombo or Griffin Jacks. I mean, from the Twins, but I don't know because like Bednar, as much as I love Bednar, David Bednar from the Pirates, I don't want to give up too many prospects for him though. That's the thing is like he's there for I think 2 or 3 years. You would have him, but at the same time, this is a case where like we might be able to come up from the what's it called? I'm sorry, from the minor leagues at that point. I don't know. It's hard to say. Then of course there's Gregory Soto, but of course we're not going to get Soto from the Phillies or even Dominguez. It's going to be kind of hard to do. I mean, I don't think the Phillies are willing to give up something unless they're willing to give up like maybe Jarvis. He's a pitching prospect or even a lower level prospect. But quite honestly, I doubt the Phillies are going to trade off to the Mets. Considering that the fact the Mets and them are like vying for that, for the number one spot in the East. But I don't know. It's interesting to see. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to see some trades to happen. Bednar definitely makes sense. Let's be honest. Bednar makes sense. Keller makes sense as well too. If the Pirates are definitely sellers, the Orioles are definitely sellers as well too. I think the 3 people that we should we don't really need at this point is Acuna because it doesn't look like he's going to work out really well. Batty. I mean, yeah, we saw what Batty did yesterday, but that's with the Angels. Let's be honest, that's with the Angels. I think he has a high upside, but I honestly think with the Mets he's not going to get there unless he's a DH. McNeil, I think he has to be a DH. If he's not going to be a DH, then you put him there and then trade off Marte. But like at this point, these are teams that are like looking for prospects and like in this situation, I don't want to give up honestly Mauricio because I think Mauricio is doing really well. If we give up Vientos, then we could move Mauricio to third base. And then put McNeil into second base at that point. But if that's not the case, have Vientos at third, Mauricio at second, McNeil at a DH. If we can get Mullins at that point, if we can get Mullins by giving up Luis Acuna and maybe a Vasil type of person or something like that. I don't know. But let me know your thoughts on that. But this is my thought process. Honestly, I was actually going to go on a rant about what's going on in politics, but I try to avoid it as much as I possibly can. I'd rather talk about the Mets and like the fact that it's like this Mets are starting decently well off now. I mean, let's see if they can build on this momentum. I'm hoping they can, but only time will tell. Trading deadline's coming up. I would love to love for the Mets to get that one power starter, but not as a rental. But we'll have to wait and see with that. With that, I'll leave it at that. If you agree with me, please leave a comment in the comment section. I do read all my comments and I do respond to them when they warrant a response. If you don't agree with me, you're welcome to make suggestions as well. So I mean, this is an open forum, so I'm not going to judge. Again, put it in the comment section and I will respond to them if they warrant a response in regards to this context of this video. If you do like this video, also please hit the like button. And also at the same time, if you haven't subscribed, I do ask if you subscribe. With that, I'll leave it at that. Unfiltered, unedited, and of course, always unrehearsed. Until next time.